Hello everyone and welcome back to the oNiD Weekender series. Season 5 here of 2025, and it is the second round here at the Bahrain outer layout, the high-speed layout. Not too many technical sections, a lot of straights for the drivers to put their foot down and use up some fuel. Joining me again this week for a second round is the wonderful Chris Overstreet. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm just fine. Thank you very much. Looking forward to this race. Of course, I'm particularly fond of this layout because this is where Sergio Perez picked up his first win in Formula One back in 2020 when I first took an interest in the sport. And this is not exactly what you'd call a technical track. This is basically 3 straights plus one very short set of S's. So today we're going to be looking entirely on corner exit, late braking, drafting, and especially dive bombs. I'm expecting enough dive bombs today that The Hague will be sending somebody a letter.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how this goes, especially with all the straights. Fuel saving will be required to make it through this race on a one-stop strategy, kind of like what we've seen last week. Speaking of last week, let's have a quick look at the championship. Of course, being only one round in, it mirrors the result of last week. There was one penalty given out. Scrub Nick Manders did get a penalty for his incident with Johnny Ashley. As you can see, is in 7th place. But then we also have that is a little bit different. The Pro and Am standings. You can see James Cowley winning the race, of course, leads the way in the Pro standings. And in the Am standings, it's Charlie Morgan that leads the way ahead of Renard Botolfsen and Craig Foreman being the top 3 within the AMS class. So plenty to fight for this weekend, and qualifying has already gotten started. We've got a few cars already setting laps, and currently just putting themselves to the top of the timesheets is Jamie Mungate with a 1:15.0, leading the way by nearly a half a second at the moment. Quite a big gap, but still early on in the session.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Mungate or Botolfsen in last week's stream. I don't know if this is their first race here offhand or if they were just they just didn't get our attention. But of course, that's the wonderful thing about online racing. People can drop in and fill openings whenever one opens up, and you always get something different every single race.
Yeah, so just a quick check of the standings. I think Mungate might be. We do have a few wildcard drivers that weren't here last week, so we do. We'll maybe see some of them throughout. But we've had a couple of other quick times come in. James Cowley has put a 1:14.0, setting the benchmark quite high for everyone, and is going even quicker, a 10th up in the first sector. Should be coming through for a second sector, and it's another 10th up, 2 tenths up then, as they have just effectively one corner to go. A little flash of the light says, ooh, that's a car facing the wrong way in a very interesting spot on the straight. I wonder if James maybe just cut too much of the final apex. I look to have used a lot of the curb, but potential 2 tenths in lap, maybe a third if they can find a bit of time in the final corner. Come across the line, 1:13.8 is the new benchmark, nearly a second in front of everyone else. Let's see. Lauren Martin, one of our wildcard drivers for this evening, on for 2 personal bests, in 9th place at the moment. Where will they improve to? They will improve, but they will still sit in P9. Let's have a look at Zach Silver coming up to the final corner, improving in the first sector. Not losing a bit of time in the middle sector. That's when the track gets a bit technical through the sort of shortcut for the middle sector of the Grand Prix circuit. And then up to the line, it will be improving 1:15.7 and bumps them up to 12th position.
Meanwhile, while we're watching that, Johnny Ashley has got up to 3rd on the board. He qualified very well in the first race, but unfortunately ran afoul of a wreck and was never quite able to recover from it. He ended up finishing, I believe, 20th in that one.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Johnny. We'll be looking to make amends for it. Go back to James Cowley. More purple sectors and another quarter of a second found. 113.6 is new benchmark as everyone just starts to edge a little closer to Kylie. They're able to put another lap in to cement their position, not just at the top of the standings, but well in front of everyone else. Daniel Lindblom coming to the final corner looks to have invalidated this lap, so we'll go to Charlie Morgan, who's actually just on an out lap, but while we catch a car just finishing an out lap, how about we jump on board and go round for a onboard flying lap?
Yeah, Charlie Morgan did very well, qualifying 10th overall and finishing 9th and 1st in AMS last week. Like I said last week, he is a very competent mid-pace runner in an open field. He's going to do very well in the AMS class, I believe, this whole season. He takes the first combo very nicely, a little bit aggressive on that little kink coming out of the first corner. Coming up to the entrance to the one technical section on this particular layout. Nice and heavy on the brakes, in second gear. And then, yeah, he is very aggressively attacking the apexes, maybe getting slightly more over onto the curb than you'd want to, but he is copying a lot of other racers here. And of course, it's always experimenting, trying to, even down to the last moment, trying to find that last 10th or even 100th of a second. Then it's, of course, balls to the wall here, all the way down to the final corner, heavy on the brakes. Try to find the trail braking to get the rotation, and then back on the gas as soon as you dare for the final rush to the line.
So coming up to the line, we didn't get a first sector time in, so I'm a little worried for Charlie that they've invalidated their first lap here. As the cross is a valid time, 1:15.288. That'll slot them into P11 for their first flying lap. Just missing out on the top 10 and finding themselves behind Alex Parkin, someone we are used to seeing a little further towards field, had a very difficult opening week, currently sits within top 10 and also in the pit lane at the moment, waiting for another lap. Adisa Carpenter up in P6, doing very well, 1.1 seconds off the top, half a tenth behind Temenga in 5th. I think they'll be quite pleased with where they sit currently.
Speaking of people who had a rough time last week, Ben Brown's first valid lap seems to have dropped him into 10th position. Of course, Ben had a fairly hard wreck midway through last week's race and was able to recover so much that if it had gone on maybe 1 or 2 laps longer, he would have got back onto the podium.
Yes, glad you mentioned that, because also I want to say thank you to Ben Brown for subscribing for the 52nd month in a row, one of our executives at oNiD, as you can tell. Been around quite a while. Also, the man behind all the oNiD deliveries made himself this little special silver edition, promoting the Two Mates Racing podcast, if I got that name correctly. New podcast him and Johnny have started. I think the first episode's out on our YouTube channel, also available on Spotify, I believe. So if you're interested in hearing Johnny and Ben waffle on about racing, you can listen to that. But as Ben Brown comes out final corner, he'll put himself up to P6, 8 tenths off the top, just within a tenth of second place. Just needs a little bit of time to put himself towards the front of the field. Currently sitting in second is Jamie Mungate, who has, I believe, just came out of the pit lane there for a second stint. Now, if you weren't with us last week, a bit of crucial information. We have a 50-minute race coming up after this qualifying session. And in that, there's 2 times fuel usage, 2 times tyre wear that will mandate a pit stop for all of our drivers to get to the end. And if they don't save a little bit of fuel, might even need a second pit stop. But the drivers are limited to 8 individual tyres, not tyre sets, not set of 4 tyres, individual tyres. That means 2 total sets of tyres. The question is, do they want to use both sets of tyres in this qualifying session to try and guarantee themselves the best possible grid position, or do they want to save a new set of tyres for the race? What they don't want to do is have a spin like that, Charlie Morgan spinning out of T1.
This is going to be one of the lower tyre wear tracks for this series, but even if somebody is mad enough to try to go through with only taking fuel and no tires, they are not going to be happy come to the end of the race. And I have to question whether it's worth saving what little time you can in the pits on a tire change if you're not getting the actual times on the track.
And Charlie coming into chat saying that I've pointed out the obvious. Wouldn't have been so obvious if you didn't do it on camera, Charlie.
That is the way of streams, isn't it? Your glory moments are never on the stream. Your moments of shame always are.
Chris Downing on a lap here has purple middle, purple final sector, but lost time in the first sector, and thus just under 4/10 down from the top of the time, but will be enough to put them up to P3 in front of Ben Brown, who took that third position for a moment. And someone who snuck up to second place is Christian Kiesig, a very quick driver in our series. Won our last ACC championship earlier on in the year with Love Fuel Saving Strategy, and has proven to be just as quick here on Le Mans Ultimate. Currently sits 3/10 off James Cowley at front of the field, though knowing how good Kiesig is at fuel saving, they might be able to challenge for the top of the times, but might not be second place. Matt Townsend has popped them up within a quarter of a second now of Cowley. They're challenging for that front row and currently occupy that second spot.
Worth remembering that last week's top three were Cowley, Downing, and Townsend in that order. And so it looks like we're seeing the leaders hop to the top again. It, of course, remains to be seen whether or not they'll be able to hold it after the first couple of laps.
Yeah, Alex Parkin here, coming up with 3 green sectors, but not a personal best lap. Currently still saying in 15th place, not too bad. Patrick Den, just behind them in the Mustang, slots themselves up to P16 with, I think, one of their first flying laps of session, or maybe their first valid lap. Here we have Lauren Martin on a bit of a slow lap here. Maybe then tyres cool down a little bit. We are in the middle of the night. Let's just have a little look at the temperatures. 20 degrees ambient temperature, 17.3 track temp. So it is quite cool, and with the very few corners around this track and long straights, might be actually a bit difficult to get the tyres up to optimal temperature. Might leave the cars sliding around a little bit more than they would be at other tracks.
Yes, I was eavesdropping in a certain Discord voice channel during practice, and several of the drivers were reporting that they had practiced offline using daytime desert temperatures, and they were completely caught out by the nighttime coolness here at this track, and they were struggling to reshape their driving style to fit the new conditions.
Yeah, especially with the GT3s having a new tyre model, which just makes them a little more vulnerable to colder tyres. Not necessarily down at the cool temperatures they come out of the pits on, but if you're just 20 degrees below the optimal temperatures, or sort of around 60, 70 degrees, the tyres can still be quite slidey if you're not careful, and especially through this middle sector. They need quite a lot of grip from them coming through this right-hander into the heavy braking zone for the chicane. Quick change of direction and trying to put the power down for a very important exit, as you then run down all the way to the final corner. Per exit there will cost you quite a lot of time. Love drivers returning to the pits now. Sort of feeling like they've used enough of their tyres and want to see if what they have remaining for the race. Patrick Den improving in the first sector, losing a little bit of time, not personal best in the middle sector, but not too slowly compared to the top times. Let's see if they're able to hold it together through the final corner. Maybe find a little bit of time. Currently sitting in 13th place as they come up to the line. It will not be an improvement this time round. They still have time for more laps. Question is, do the drivers want to use their tyres? Martin Thorpe now into the final corner. Improving first sector again, but losing a bit of time in the middle sector.
Yeah, we are getting down to the end of it, and last week a lot of drivers reported that they'd used both sets of tires in their qualifying, and that turned out to be a mistake. I have to wonder how many people are remembering that from last week, and how many people swore to themselves, I'm only going to use one compound, and then after halfway through qualify, they said, screw it, put the other tires on.
Yeah, it is a question of track having grip on the track with new tyres, or getting yourself a better qualifying position or better starting position for the race, having the track position. Grip versus track position. Meanwhile, Ben Brown has just slid themselves up to 4th place ahead of Chris Downing. There are some very close battles up and down the grid, especially a sort of battle. Martin Thorpe or Alex Parkin getting a lap time up to P10, and Patrick Den following up to P11. But very close there between 13th and 15th, just 8 thousandths of a second separating Charlie Morgan, Adusa Carpenter, and Tyler Hammer. Very close battle. That'll be very interesting to watch when we get to the race. But yeah, not a lot of time to remains. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can improve on these final few laps. Very deep there from Patrick Den. Doesn't look like they'll be improving this lap. Ben Brown maybe on an invalid lap here, but one of only 4 cars currently out on track.
You mentioned Morgan, Carpenter, and Hammer in that tight race. Those are all AMS racers. That is very tight indeed for the top of the AMS class.
Yeah, Tyler Hammer, the only one of those pack on a lap, continuing on, and they'll bump themselves up to 12th. They only gained, and it was less than 1/10 of a second, but it got them 3 positions on the grid. It looks like they're going to go for one final lap as well, so they come into turn 1. Very tight line on the exit to try and open up turn 2, bounce over the inside curb for good measure. Let's say session is coming to a close. Ben Brown just in front, trying to get to the front row, just 600ths of a second off that front row, but not finding the time needed in the first sector.
At this point, that's all you can do is, I was about to say all you can do is push, but Ben Brown's looked at the time and says, I haven't got any more left in me, and he sends it back to the pits.
Lauren Martin.
And there's Lauren Martin trying to push as well, pushed a little too hard, and that's his qualifying effectively over.
Yeah, Tyler Hammer will be the next one across line. Is finding a little bit of time in the middle sector. Only needs a 1/4 of a tenth to get themselves up into P11. Coming up to the line now will be improvement. It will be improvement, and is then just 3 thousandths of a second from knocking Alex Parkin out of the top 10 and taking that final spot for themselves. With that, time of the session is up, but we have one final driver to complete a lap. It is Patrick Den, who will go quick and will put themselves up into 7th place. A great final lap from them, and a decent grid position rewarded, just under 7/10 off the top. I'm sure they'll be happy with that late effort.
Yeah, it looks like we are shaping up for a lot of extremely competitive racing down the field, but despite everything, Cowley is still almost a 1/4 second up on everybody else minimum. So he's looking very dominant to start. Then we have a very tight race for 2nd through effectively 6th. Then 7th down to pretty much as far as you can go. It's just very tiny divisions between the people qualifying.
Indeed. Let's have a little look at our starting order then for the second round of the Weekender Series. It is James Cowley on pole position with Christian Kasich in close pursuit in 2nd place. Matt Townsend will roll off P3 with Ben Brown in P4. 5th place in is Chris Downing with Ralph West taking P6 in the Corvette. 7th place in the Mustang, Patrick Den with that last second lap. We'll put them in front of Jamie Mungate, who's joining us for the first time. Johnny Ashley, looking for redemption after last week, is starting P9 with Martin Thorpe rounding out our top 10. Alex Parkin, a very decent result for them in P11, will be starting in front of Tyler Hammer in 12th. And Don Tomenga, a little further down than we'd expect them to be, in 13th place, just in front of Charlie Morgan, who was just 2 thousandths in front of Adusa Carpenter. He'll be starting 15th. Daniel Lindblom in the Porsche will be starting 16th. Have Runar Batolfsson in 17th position. Zach Silver, who made good strategy work last week, and made up a lot of positions, will be starting 18th this week. Tom Watson will be 19th, have Stefan Reinhardt in P20, Dave Sleckie in 21st, and Lauren Martin spinning on their final qualifying lap will be starting 22nd. Guy Geiser will be in 23rd with Fiona Grasner in 24th, and our last row of the grid, Simon Harris in 25th, and Daniel Chavez in the Corvette will be starting in 26th position. That is our full field, and they are now heading their way towards the final corner as we get ready to go racing.
I'm seeing a gap there in the field as it is. I wonder if somebody failed to get on the grid in time.
It looks like everyone but Daniel Chavez is on the grid. So maybe someone just a little bit slow getting away for the formation lap. But now through the final corner, rolling towards the lights. 60 kilometers an hour, waiting for the signal. Track temp has dropped even further. It's down to 14.3 degrees Celsius. That'll just make it that little bit more challenging. The drivers will have been given some temperature in their tyres to start the race, but it is far from optimal. As they pass the pit entry, the green lights come on, and we're away racing for the second time. Looks like a good start from Christian Kiesig and Ben Brown as well, who's going to make it 3 wide as they head to turn 1. James Cowley sandwiched in the middle now as they hit the brakes for the first corner, still 3 wide. Bit apprehensive by Cowley when they can turn in. Kiesig loses out on the outside, but from 4th place, Ben Brown will take the lead of this race with an incredible getaway.
Yeah, that was really interesting to see. Cowley was pinching Brown as much as he could, but it didn't pay off for him. Brown was able to keep it to the inside and get on the gas nice and quick.
Chris Downing takes advantage and takes P3 from Christian Kiesig. 2 front row starters, both losing out positions. Meanwhile, a little further back, Alex Parkin in P11, where they started, however, have picked up a penalty from the starting procedure, so that'll lose them a lot of time. It'll be interesting to see, will they draw it out a few laps, or will we see them end of this lap? Meanwhile, a little bit side further in front, 3 wide actually, Johnny Ashley in the middle, Patrick Den on the outside, and Munge on the inside. The McLaren backing out in the end, and Johnny Ashley comes out taking P7 with Jamie Munge losing a place there, falling from where they started and still fighting the Mustang, but doesn't look to have the momentum on straight line speed. Den will take P8.
Yeah, everybody, the pack is staying nice and close, and of course that is absolutely vital. Slipstream on a high-speed track is life or death. You cannot afford to fall back out of the slip. Oh, looks like somebody just got a bump there in the background.
I think that's Alex Parkin getting a little bump as they try to put the power down of the hairpin, struggling a little bit with traction. That's backed up Tyler Hammer and given Daniel Lindblom an opportunity. So go try and go around the outside here and get some move done under braking in the background. The Lexus of Charlie Morgan trying to make a move on the Mercedes has to back over, and Zach Silver trying to take advantage, trying to get themselves up to 16th, but we'll have to back down for now. It's been a bit of a poor start for Adusa Carpenter, who mentioned was in that very close pack in qualifying, has fallen down to 19th place now. That's down 4 places from where they started, and is now fighting Stefan Reinhardt over 18th place. Look to have got the better exit out of the chicane, but will be on the outside for the final corner. Can they hold it the long way round? Brave enough on the brakes. It looks like they're going to try and do so. Aston caught on that tighter line, though it is a little too wide. Gets onto the curb. Has got to present Tom Watson an opportunity to take 19th place. Disappointing start for the Mustang driver.
Yes, both Carpenter and Morgan fell down the grid very early in the first lap. I don't know if there was just unfortunate traffic or if they were having to avoid an incident or something.
I can see fighting into T1. Charlie Morgan trying to come back at Zach Silver, but wasn't quite able to in the background. That looks like Tom Watson trying to make a move on Stefan Reinhardt. Got the run out of turn 2, going to the inside, leaving them the space. The inside will become the outside as they head through left-hander, but the Aston Martin backs out, and that gives a chance for the Mustang Carpenter to try and have a look, but they don't commit to it in the end, and settling for P20 for now. Trying to get a better exit through the chicane, but has fallen just a little too far back on this occasion.
Meanwhile, up at the sharp end of things, Ben Brown is just barely holding off Cowley, who has made a couple of surges but hasn't been able to seal the deal and get around him yet.
Oh, that's a Porsche. That's Daniel Lindblom in the background, sliding off at the final corner. Is going to drop down the order. Very disappointing for them as they eventually wait for the whole field. See a car coming into pit lane. That is Alex Parkin and someone else. It was Skane Greiser who's also gone into the pit. Steve Selecki just catching up to Lindblom as they rejoin. We'll try and make a move here into the first corner. And we'll look to get that move done. Of course, that big slide across the runoff will not have done Daniel Lindblom's tires any good. It's just trying to get a replay to see how it happened.
Well, Lindblom, if he has any sense, is going to be cautious this next lap out because, like you said, even taking into account how cool the tire is, having an unassisted slide like that is going to do the tire temperatures and condition no favors at all.
Yes, you can see just lost the rear end there and was had that twitch, tried to correct it, but ended up sort of overcorrecting it and causing sliding. While we were watching that, has got themselves back in front of has got themselves, yes, of Selecki. Okay, little technical issue, but yes, my screen has done a little break, but yeah, fight at the front. Ben Brown still holding on at the front, with James Cowley still in hot pursuit.
Meanwhile, down in the middle of the pack, Johnny Ashley is holding off Botolfson, but they were just a moment ago very close. Now the gap is open significantly. And it looks like Botolfson might be in trouble because he's being hauled in by Silver.
Yes. So Zach Silver right behind, or being chased down by Charlie Morgan. Let's stay Charlie closing in with the slipstream.
Yeah, Morgan looked very briefly at a move here, but then backed out of it. Wasn't quite close enough to make anything happen there regardless. And there's, Cowley has got past Ben Brown, and I suspect that he's going to be making good pace away from him now that he's got past the former leader. And I bet you I know how it happened, too, because the car that's behind Ben Brown is a back marker. They're already lapping people. And I'm willing to bet what happened there was traffic got in the way and allowed the move to happen. Because up until that point, according to the timing sheet, Brown was making very good progress defending his position.
Yeah, it could have been. We also have Battle Mungate closing in on Ralph Vest. Good to run out of the chicane, has the slipstream towards the final corner. Will they make a move to the inside? Doesn't seem to have enough straight line speed, even with the slipstream, to make a move into the final corner. But Ralph Vest, sort of a little bit of a tighter line. Earlier Apex has opened up a little gap into the corner. Looks like we'll just have the straight line speed to hold in front of the McLaren driver for now.
Yes, I noticed that Mungate turned out just before that corner. I'm going to guess that Mungate isn't quite as confident on his brakes as Vest is. And so as soon as I say that, Mungate makes his pounce right into T1. And that is a beautifully well-executed dive bomb. But here comes Mungate trying to come back on him, going on to the first straight. And they're going side by side up towards the technical section. Is Vest going to be able to hold it on the outside? No, Mungate holds the inside and pretty much shuts the door on Vest, at least for the moment.
Up to P6 then for Mungate. And we'll try and start running away with this now. Have a quick look at the positions gained and lost. Mungate up 2 places now. And looks like we'll try and utilize some pace. Already breaking away from Elfest, who's coming under pressure from Patrick Den in the Mustang. I wonder if the Mustang, little twitch from the Corvette has given the Mustang a run. We'll have to pop out the slipstream very early on the straight.
And slips right back into it. Yeah. It looks like he was going to make a move here. He's waiting to the exact last moment, and there he goes. He pulls out, and late break, but not quite late enough. Or is it? He had the nose out by T1, but of course there's that kink there at T2, which allows Vest to get back in front again, and this time cleanly in front.
Yeah, so Ralfest, a little bit of a train behind them now, as Martin Thorpe and Anton Temenga have closed up. Temenga up a few places as well, up 3 places, trying to recover after you could say is a poor qualifying by their standards. Patrick Den maybe wanting to make a move, running out a little bit wider. Doesn't lose too much time.
But yeah, Vest is a bit higher up than usual, at least from my limited knowledge of him, so it's not terribly surprising that he's got some very frustrated people trailing behind him, trying to find a way around.
Yeah, and in the background, Temenga, they're going for the move on the inside of Martin Thorpe, getting themselves up to P9, and that is a 4th position gained since the start of the race. We are just over 10 minutes, or a 5th of the way through the race, but that doesn't stop Martin Thorpe from trying to come back. Using slipstream, Temenga defends towards the pit wall. Thorpe, no choice but to go to the outside. Who will be bravest on the brakes? It looks like it's the Mustang of Temenga. Will hold on to that position. I'm sure Thorpe will try and get a better exit here. Opens turn 2 a little bit more. Can they carry the momentum with the traction through turn 2? They're closing with the slipstream once more, but doesn't look like it's going to be enough. They'll have to settle here for P10.
And meanwhile, I mentioned a couple of laps ago when Callie made his move on Brown that I expected he was going to run away with it. He's already 2 seconds up on Ben Brown.
Starting to stretch his legs, and last lap around set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:14.1, as meanwhile it's a yellow flag. Johnny Ashley has had a spin in the middle sector.
And apparently he's found the wall. It doesn't look like he picked up much visual damage, but even if his car is completely damaged, he is not going to be happy about that whatsoever.
It looks like he might have been all alone coming through turn 4 here now into left-hander of turn 5. Takes a love inside curb. The rear end just gets unsettled and completely loses it. Little bump on the wall. Hopefully hasn't done any suspension damage with that. But looking to make redemption after an incident last week, that is not how it's going to be done. He is back down in 20th place where he finished last week.
Very unfortunate, but that is unfortunately the nature of sim racing. Let's see here. What are we looking at here? Vest is still holding off this pack, with Den being the closest car to him. And let's see, Den here is showing about half a second back and is... well, I gotta say, after seeing that dip into the gravel, it's not like Den isn't being given little gifts, but somehow he is still not making up ground.
Into the final corner, we'll ride on board with Patrick Den as they try and close up to Ralph Vest in front. They'll be hoping for Mungate to pull away, not to be giving any slipstream to the Corvette driver. But we'll also have to, has Anton Temenga not too far behind. Last lap for Ralph Vest was invalidated, so we can't tell how quick it was. But Temenga was a 10th quicker than Patrick Den, just closing up a little bit. Is just over a second back at the moment after passing Martin Thorpe. There'll be a question. Ralph Vest will be wanting Temenga to close up and start fighting Patrick Den to relieve them of pressure.
And meanwhile, the gap between them is still staying almost rock solid at about half a second. In fact, all things considered, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not Vest is actually sticking, or rather, with Den is sticking with Vest simply because of slipstream. It may well be that, for whatever reason, Den actually is just the slower driver and he's along for the tow. Alternately, he could be in the tow as a fuel-saving measure. He might not be looking to make too many moves right now in the hopes of shaving off a pit stop during this race.
Yeah, just looking, Ralph Vest and Jimmy Mungate look like they're a lap shorter on virtual energy. They've been using a little bit more, maybe to try and fight between each other and hold on to the positions at the front of this train, but it could cost them later on in the race. Meanwhile, we have a battle for P12. Zach Silver, I believe, has just got the move done on Runar Betolfson, who's now having to defend from Charlie Morgan as they come up the hill to turn 4. Betolfson on the inside, Lexus on the outside. Looks like the Mercedes is going to hold on for now.
Yeah, Betolfson is definitely in defensive mode, trying to make sure he leaves as little opportunity as possible for Morgan to get past him.
Yeah, let's go to a replay. This is Zach Silver slipstreaming down the start-finish strip, pulls out to the inside, and Betolfson not fighting this one too hard. Lamborghini getting the move done under braking. Betolfson leaves them the space, and maybe a little too much space, as that's what allows the Lexus to start putting some pressure on, but they were able to fend that battle off. Meanwhile, a little further in front, Ralph Vest is looking to try and come back at Jimmy Mungate using slipstream and straight line speed. That Corvette seems to have moved to the inside of turn 1, round the outside of turn 2. Little bit of a wheel bang there, and that's going to allow the Mustang to come through, who's going to try and look for a move on the Corvette towards turn 4. It looks like the Mustang backs out of that one. I wonder if they got an illegal overtake, but it's going to try and get the move done again on the McLaren, sending it back down the inside. We'll get the nose in front, and nothing to choose between them as they come through turn 5. Mustang with the inside through the right-hander, but it'll be the outside as they head into chicane. They're fighting aggressively as they rub doors, but it's a McLaren that manages to just about come out on top, but is certainly not free from this battle for now. The Mustang trying to come back, and it's not just one Mustang, it is 2 Mustangs now. He's in the background. Tamanga has well and truly caught up, is looking to see where the gap will merge for them. But Patrick Dent still on the inside, still trying to hang position. The McLaren a little bit wide on the curb, and can see just how that compromises their momentum. And with the racing line, Tamanga is going to try and pick up 2 places here. Has already got themselves in front of the McLaren and is side by side with Patrick Dent for P7. It'll be the inside for Tamanga. The McLaren is going to try and come back. It's 3 wide into T1, and looks like Tamanga is going to get both of them up to P7. 6 places gained from the start, but the battle is not over between Patrick Den and Mungate. The McLaren a good run out through the opening sequence. It's going to switch to the inside at turn 4 at the last moment, but thinks better of a late braking maneuver.
And meanwhile, Thorpe is right behind them saying, "Can I play too?" This is looking to be a huge slipstream battle with people trying to find a dive bomb opportunity and then not quite having enough overspeed when they get alongside to make moves stick. And that allows the people behind to take advantage and pull themselves one rung further up the ladder.
Yeah, it is certainly interesting. Ralph Vest still at the front of this train. It is now nearly a 5-car train, as you can see. Has the least amount of virtual energy, only 31.4%. Everyone else has about 35%. That is a lap difference. So Ralph Vest trying to get track position at the moment, but will it cost them when it comes to strategy? Into T1 once again, everyone concertining up and then spreading back out as they head towards turn 4.
Yeah, Vest wasn't around for last week as far as I can tell, and it looks like his strategy here is to hold on to his high position as long as possible and enjoy it before he has to pit. And he's got 2 very fast drivers behind him. Tamanga, of course, was at the sharp end for most of the race until he dropped back close to the end. And as I said before, I'm more and more thinking that Den is slipstreaming at least partly to keep pace, but also to save energy and fuel to try to avoid making a second stop.
Yeah, I think Johnny Ashley has just had another moment. Has dropped from 18th place down to 21st again. So he's struggling. As you can see, Aston Martin on the outside being lapped by this group of cars. As they come across our finish line, Temenga putting the pressure on Ralph Est, who might be lifting and coasting a little bit more than they used to be, realizing how short they are on energy. Maybe the race is going one lap longer than they anticipated. And it's just catching them out. That's giving Anton Temenga a chance to close in. But can Temenga get past, get some clear track in front of them, put some pace down as they try and grab P6.
Vest not being particularly defensive at the moment. That's an interesting choice. He looks like he might be doing a little bit of lift and coast, but he also might just be saying what happens behind me happens.
Yep, got a move for P18 here. Alex Parkin getting up the inside of Simon Harris as they look to recover after that drive-through penalty from the starting procedure. Quite a long way to go for Alex Parkin, having qualified in P10, I believe it was, or P11, sorry. But they are making their way back up the field. And yeah, that's still half an hour for them and one pit stop to use best strategy, try and make up some positions. We'll go back as they head down start finish straight. This battle for P6. Temenga has the run this time by, and Ralph Est is having to go defensive to the inside. Temenga not too brave on the brakes, isn't going to be hanging it around the outside here. Actually, might get the traction around the outside, but has to slow back into line. Might compromise their exit here. Look in the background as well. If in this group, you've got to try and be careful of how you make a move, as making a poor move, just compromising yourself will leave you vulnerable to the car behind. I'm sure will not wait too long. Will take the opportunity if you drop it for them, as Ralph Est a little bit wider over the curb. Loses a little bit of time as they come up to the chicane. Very tricky to make a move into the chicane just with the curved nature of the braking zone. But look at that, Ralph Est compromised through the chicane, and Anton Temenga has another run. Will get to the inside as they head towards the final corner. In the background, Patrick Den might even think about making it 3 wide if they have enough straight line speed.
No, he changes his mind about that. He's going to try to hang it around the outside, and that obviously does not work. But here's Temenga, who's got a great exit coming out onto the main straight, and he has got the position done unless Vest does some really tricky braking. And since Vest has dropped into the slipstream, I don't think that's on his agenda.
Ralph Est is going to try and come back here on the outside into T1. Has got the nose in front under braking, but the long way round cannot quite hold it there. Things by the inside turn 2, but does not have enough of an overlap and has to back out there. Meanwhile, you can see the McLaren jumping over that turn 3 curb, trying to make a move, and that might give an opportunity to the Mercedes. Martin Thorpe just in the background. This 5-car drain could not be any closer defending for the McLaren. Looks like Ralph Est is struggling. Didn't carry the corner speed round there, and that's going to give the Mustang an opportunity. Round the outside, turn 5, turns to the inside here, as that's Matt Townsend, who had an incident at that part of the track. The drivers have to make sure they didn't pass under yellow flags there. And Temenga, already trying to break away from this group in front, has made a 1.2 second gap. It is now a 4-car train led by Patrick Den. Ralph Est in P7. Jamie Mungay in the McLaren in P8, and Martin Thorpe in P9.
Yeah, it looks like Vest has now realized that he might be in a little bit of trouble fuel-wise, except that's Mungate peeling off into the pits, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit early. We're 2 minutes away from the halfway point. So we'll see if might have to make a second pit stop, or it's going to be a lot of fuel save. Let's try and see if we can find out what happened to Matt Townsend. Was running well. Let me just try and find them. I just missed it at this point. Let's see if we can catch the start of this. So here they are, coming out of turn 4 into turn 5 using a bit of the inside curb. And it seems like copy and paste from Johnny Ashley. Just instead of a Mustang, it's a BMW crashing this time.
Yep, and what can you say about that except the effort to try to find an extra 10th or 100th by cutting the corner, that's not necessarily a good idea when you're on a literal desert track.
Yep. So as mentioned, Jamie Mungate, first of the cars to pit. They did apparently have an extra lap of virtual energy, but they chose to be safe and take the early pit stop. But when they come out of the pits, there'll still be more than 25 laps remaining, or 25 minutes, sorry.
And meanwhile, Vest is in the pits now.
Yeah, I mentioned Ralph Vest was the next one who was a little bit short. So Jimmy Mungate has gone 18 laps. Ralph Vest 19 laps. Looks like everyone else is going to try and go 20 laps at least, if not 21. So could be interesting to see how his strategy works out. A few more cars further back coming in. I wonder if there's sort of maybe a bit of a difference into how long this race will go for. People thinking, people towards the front of the field thinking a bit of a quicker race will get one more lap than those that are a little further back, and depending on the calculations that they've used.
Looking at who's coming in, it's either people who have tagged walls or, by and large, the bottom half of the group. Although the leaders have just come in, Cowley, Brown, Downing. We're seeing exactly what you predicted. The lap 20 people are coming in for their halfway pit.
Yeah, we've just passed the halfway mark, 25 minutes down, 25 minutes to go. It'll be interesting if anyone maybe short fuels a little bit, tries to save like 3% of energy, only filled to 97%, as that 3% could let you jump in front of another car with your pit stopping 1 or 2 seconds quicker. Someone is going for another lap. Actually, a couple of people are going for another lap. Charlie Morgan is first of those, and Adusa Carpenter as well, going the extra lap. The real benefit for them will be if they don't put as much fuel in at the pit stops, and that could save them a couple of seconds, a few seconds, get them track position, and yeah, maybe even more than that.
This is true, although there are a couple of other minor advantages, not least being the sheer psychological rest of having the track all to yourself for a moment, so you can settle yourself down, get yourself into a better groove, and hopefully get more time towards the end of the race. It is very easily to get mentally unstable, especially when you're in a huge pack, all trading places through slipstreaming.
James Kiley got a really bad exit through the first couple of corners, and that's like Chris Downing, who was side by side with Ben Brown to get in front and take the net lead of this race. Ben Brown is going to try and follow through and take a net second place. All the while, they're lapping Daniel Lindblom here, who, remember, had that spin in the opening sector, and Christian Kasich also passing here for third place. James Kiley, not through the pit itself, but on the out lap, has lost 3 places, dropped off the podium.
Not terribly surprising. Once you get off the fast line, it is very easily for cars to come in if they're close enough behind whoever just did you. So the thing is, though, Cowley, we already know, has extremely quick pace. He is perfectly capable of retaking all these positions and coming out in front by the end of the race.
Indeed. I'm going to try and look at the pit times. James Kiley's pit stop was 5 seconds longer than everyone else. I think I know what has happened here. I think James Kiley has taken 2 tyres at their pit stop. It's allowed everyone to close up and overtake him as he's struggling with the cool tyres here on the outlap. But he is hoping that the extra grip from the newer tyres for the rest of the race, I would assume left-hand side tyres here being a clockwise circuit, is hoping those new tyres, whether they're completely brand sticker new, as they'd say in America, or whether they are quality used, we don't know, but hoping that the newer tyre is enough to get them positioned. Meanwhile, someone who had a great race last time, I used strategy to make up plenty of positions, Zach Silver coming through pit lane. They've already made their pit stop. This is to serve a penalty, we assume, speeding in the pit lane.
It's unfortunate, but very easy to do.
And Christian Kiesig there getting a move done on Ben Bryan into the final corner and getting themselves up to P2, back to where they started. But leading the way at the moment is Chris Downing. Remember, was 5th on the grid after qualifying. Now finds themselves at the front. Can they win this race, or will they be hunted down? I see a car coming out of the pits.
That's Zach Silver.
Yeah,
Zach Silver came out just in time to give Cowley a little bit of a chance to tighten up on the rest of the field.
But it's also slightly compromised the leaders while they were fighting. I think held Ben Bryan up a little bit. Maybe Cowley themselves not doing any Lamborghini teamwork there after their unfortunate penalty. That penalty, by the way, has dropped him down to 21st position, a few seconds ahead of Daniel Lindblom, and about 7 seconds behind Simon Harris, who's trying to close up to Johnny Ashley, as you can see, who are not too far away from being lapped in. Simon Harris does look to be closing down Johnny Ashley. I assume carrying on with the damage they picked up might be affecting their pace as they come round. Matt Townsend coming back into the pits for a second time. They don't show us having a penalty, so I wonder if they've made a mistake. They are.
If it is, it's a very costly one.
Yeah, they are showing
this is
full up on virtual energy, so yeah, it could be. I'm not sure what mistake they've made there.
I keep using the word very unfortunate. Let me talk about something that has been very fortunate. Unlike last week, we've seen very few wrecks and practically no contact between cars, so far as I can tell. This has been an extremely clean race.
Yep, has been pretty clean. We've seen a couple of mistakes from Johnny Ashley and Matt Townsend at turn 5, just car getting unsettled from the inside curb. Also seen Daniel Lindblom sliding off at the final corner. But those are the only 3 moments that we've gone through. I think there have been a couple of other moments that we have missed, but nothing too major. I can see now 4 leading cars all in a trade, and it's James Cowley who's trying to make the moves, but they won't be making any moves, sliding through the final corner much like Daniel Lindblom did earlier on in the race. That is going to be a blow to them trying to win this race.
Yeah, they haven't lost position yet, but if they took those tires like you expect they did, that has taken away any advantage the new tires would have given them.
Yeah, let's ride on board with them as they come up towards the final corner. As I said, we think, pretty sure he has 2 new tires. I think they're on the left-hand side. Coming into the final corner, maybe just a bit too ambitious. Turned the car in, it turned in, and the rear just went round. Alternative.
Too much of the inside curb. The traction is lower there. The traction's better on the left-hand side, and that's how the car spun.
I think he was losing that before the inside curb. I'm wondering, this might be a bit out there, but I'm wondering if instead of left-hand side tires, I wonder if James Cowley has changed both front tires and not the rear tires. That would kind of explain a spin like that. Would be a very ambitious strategy, but it works at some tracks, but I'm not sure it would work at this one.
A very curious strategy, in my opinion, considering how, even if this is a mid-engine car, for me it would be either the 2 lefts or the 2 rears.
You can see making their way back past Zach Silver. He's carrying on after that penalty. But with all the pit stops done now, we are seeing the field has...
Chavez is technically still in the pit, but he was a very late addition to the field. He didn't show up until midway through qualifying, so far as I can tell. And I'm wondering if he's just planning on staying there.
Yeah, he hasn't been out to run a lap. So.
And you mentioned that Townsend went in for a second pit stop. He's still there too.
I think something happened with Townsend that we didn't see. I've got a replay here from Matt Townsend. I'm not sure if this was their turn 5 spin or if this was something else. Or Yeah, they're coming into turn 1, so this looks to be something else. They're already down in 9th place at this moment, so it looks to be a separate moment. Bounce over the turn 2 curb, loses rear end, slides away all to the left-hand side wall, and they have knocked a tyre off. Matt Townsend's day has gone from bad to worse, and it has dropped them to the final car competing in this race.
Yeah, his car was already in trouble going into that compound, and that last swerve and hitting the wall just put the final stamp on it and put it in the mailbox. That's it for his race.
Yeah, so our front 3 still relatively close to one another, as they're lapping another yellow Lamborghini. I think that is, yes, it is Simon Harris that they're making their way past. Johnny Ashley has got up the road by a few seconds. Another battle we have that's is on the edge of the top 10, or for the final top 10 spot, I should say. Charlie Morgan trying to reel in runner Bertelsen.
This isn't the first time these two have battled this race. And Morgan, I personally believe, is technically the faster driver, but he's got to show it. It's one thing to catch up to a car, and it's another thing to get around them.
Yeah, just having a little look at the positions gained and lost since the start. Chris Downing up 4 places, having started in 5th and leading the way. Now James Curley down 3 with a different pit strategy that's lost him track position, trying to fight back. Seeing the half spin at the final corner. Temenga up 8 places, has gained the most positions out of anyone this race, from 13th on the grid up into P5 now. It's 8.7 seconds back from James Curley, so I think that will be the highest they'll be getting this race, unless anyone, of course, in that top 4 make any more mistakes. Who else? General places gained throughout mid-pack, but up 7 places. Ronald Bertelsen, Tom Watson, and Reinhardt all up 7 places, having good races so far. As you can see, Charlie Morgan closing in a bit on Bertelsen, but not close enough to make a move this time around.
Yeah, Bertelsen might be giving one of those positions back in the near future, but it's not going to be the very near future. He is still holding just enough of a gap to where Morgan is trying to find some way of hanging it around the outside, and that's not a good look for this track.
Mentioned Johnny Ashley having a 3-second gap to Simon Harris. I think as the lapped cars lapped Johnny, it's cost him a bit of time and allowed Simon Harris not just to close back in, but to also make the move. And Charlie Morgan trying to find a way through the final corner, wasn't quite able to, but with the slipstream now, will get alongside, will be the outside as they head towards turn 1 on the Mercedes driver. Which of the two will come out in front after T1? It's Charlie Morgan in front heading into the corner, but Bertelsen on the inside. Squeezes Charlie Morgan a little bit, but with that inside tight line, struggles for traction, gets a big slide, and gives Charlie Morgan the final spot in the top 10.
Normally the inside line there at T1 has been very strong, but that if you can't put down the power properly, that's what happens.
And Patrick Den making a move on Ralph Est in the technical part of the track through the middle sector, up to P6, round the outside with a fast right-hander, inside for the chicane, and gets themselves into P6. Ralph Est, though, with the slipstream, we've seen them be quick on straight line speed so far this race. I wonder if they're able to come back. They'll need a good run through the final corner, and it looks like a decent run. Good exit too. This could be an opportunity for them to come back, but meanwhile from the field, Chris Downing is having to fight off Christian Kiesig, and looks like they've just about able to manage that so far.
Yeah, let me just say something out of the blue here. I'm very inordinately amused at how LMU's cameras do the shake thing whenever a car passes close by. That is a nice little bit of detail that entertains me no end.
Yeah, this game does have some nice attention to detail in it, as we see Ralph Est not able to get back in front of Patrick Den, but we'll try and keep the pressure on. Let me just have a look at the virtual energy. Oh, it is not looking too good for Ralph Est. They are more than a lap. Of course, they pitted earlier than everyone else. they are also consuming more energy than everyone around them. Their 3-lap average is 5.1%. Patrick Den, who they're fighting with, 4.9%. Anton Temenga, a little further up, only 4.7%. So can see how Ralph Est is struggling here. And when they cross the line here, but if they cross the line... Oh, I think that might be curse of the commentator right there.
It might be, but I think it's more that Vest is just so focused on track position at the moment that they've lost track entirely of strategy. At this point, it is all but certain he's going to have to take a splash and dash in order to make it to the end of the race. And just because he was still pushing to hold that one position rather than thinking of the end, he ended up losing it.
A little further back, Jimmy Mungate, who we've seen was fighting in that battle with Ralph Vest and Patrick Den earlier on, down in 16th place, just getting past Lauren Martin, who is now being lapped for this by this fight for the lead. Kiesig still trying to chase down, and Mungate not making things easy there for Kiesig at all. This will give an opportunity to Ben Brown, who sweeps in from the racing line, carries the momentum through the final corner. Flash of the lights from Kiesig, who must be pretty frustrated with the McLaren driver. It's cost them P2. Flash of the headlights from the Mercedes as well, wanting the McLaren just to move over, let the fight for second place happen, as Christian Kiesig scuffs up back into line and will make the move on the McLaren to lap them.
No, I don't think that was asking him to move out of the way. That was Ben as saying, stay right there, keep this guy behind me.
But as they come up to turn 4, another McLaren getting out of the way, and that is, yes, after their half spin at the final corner not too long ago, that is James Cowley. They are on a mission. They are on a charge. They were a second quicker than the cars in front of them last lap, of course helped by traffic to an extent, but James Cowley is not out of the win of the chance to win this race. As you can see, they're now behind the second of the two McLarens, and we'll now see the 3-car train that they were once behind not too long ago, had a spin at this very corner that they go through now, has had to fight back the sort of 6 seconds they lost from that. They've fought back through, and it is now a straight fight. You can see the next traffic for these cars is up at turn 4, so we've got plenty of clear space with just under 9 minutes to go. It should be no traffic to the end of the race, just a straight fight to see who will win the second round of our Weekender series.
Of course, the drivers ahead of Cowley will have plenty to say about that. Yes, he's gathered up several seconds in the course of just a couple of laps, but as you said, we're now under 8 minutes 30 seconds to the end of the race, pretty much. Cowley is within 2 seconds of the lead, but those are going to be 2 very big seconds when he has to get around 3 cars, each of which would like anything better than to keep him behind them.
Adus Carpenter making a move into the final corner, and Stefan Reinhardt, who was trying to get the better exit from the corner, but the Mustang parked right in front of them, had nowhere to go, and that's allowed Alex Parkin to sweep through and take 14th place from them. 2 places lost in just over a corner for Stefan Reinhardt. They seem to be struggling just a little bit. Looks like Carpenter and Alex Parkin both of them might have taken a couple of tyres. Maybe all 4 tires for Adus Carpenter. We mentioned they went 1 lap longer than everyone else on energy, and they still have the longest pit stop I'm seeing from everyone, so I assume that would be 2 new tires for them to try and push on to the end of the race. Meanwhile, side by side for P3, James Cowley trying to get the move done on Christian Kiesig, hasn't quite been able to do it at the moment. Porsche driver holding on as Ben Brown is putting the pressure on Chris Downing for the lead of the race.
Yeah, we are getting towards the end of the race, and those of the drivers who chose not to take tires are going to be really struggling right about now with the 200% wear. We might see a little bit more chaos right at the very end.
Yeah, still just under 7 minutes to go. You can see Ben Brown with a good exit out of this chicane, trying to put pressure and chasing the McLaren driver to the inside. And in the background, the Lamborghini has got to the inside. James Kiley's got the move done for second place. Contact for the lead, and that sends Chris Downing into a spin at the final
and
corner
Cowley gets
here.
2 positions right there, and that's very unfortunate for Kissick or Downing. Or I've already lost track. That fight was so tight it was hard to keep track of whose car was whose. But however you slice it, Brown's in first, and Cowley is right behind him.
Yeah, let's get a replay of this. This is Chris Downing chasing over to the inside. Ben Brown goes to the outside in the background. You can see James Kiley got the momentum, got the move done easily on Christian Kiesick through the final corner. Ben Brown sweeps from the racing line and just gets into the side of Chris Downing, who, as subsequent from the contact, has a spin, drops him to the back of this train, and will probably struggle to catch back up. But that doesn't do Ben Brown any favours, as that's one less car for James Kiley to pass, and now leaves the Lamborghini driver all over the rear end of the Mercedes.
Yeah, what was a 4-car fight is now very much a 3-car fight, with Downing a little more than 4 seconds off the lead pace at the moment. And the 4th car in this row at the moment is a back marker. No need to worry about them at the moment. But Cowley is right there, and he's practically saying to Brown, "My name is Cowley. You took my position. Prepare to lose."
With the tire advantage, you have to imagine, and also having taken pole position, Kiley should have this in the bag. Look to the inside, send it in under braking. Ben is going to try and squeeze him to the apex, but Kiley is not having any of it. Will squeeze Ben right back through turn 2. A little bit of door-to-door contact, and that could compromise Ben Brown enough to like Kiesick to come through and retake second place, which it does so indeed. Ben Brown from the lead to third, or maybe not, tries to come back, nearly gets into the back of James Kiley, but runs so wide that the Porsche is able to take P2 again. Ben Brown down to third position.
That's some very aggressive driving by all concerned, and when the elbows came out, Brown was the loser at the end of it.
Yeah, with the fresher tires, you'd have to assume Kiley is free to go on and win this race, taking an alternate strategy compared to the rest of our front runners. They got brave. It did cost them track position, but they were, and even with a half spin at the final corner, when they attempted to start making the moves back up through the field, they were able to regain the gap, the time lost, and then a bit of infighting between those on the sort of primary strategy helped Kiley take the lead with a few minutes to spare. Meanwhile, a little further back, Ralph Vest fighting Charlie Morgan, who's now up to P8, and certainly having a good race themselves in front of Ralph Vest, but runs wide through the final corner, gives not only that spot up, but also will lose out to Tyler Hammer, who will take P9 from the Lexus driver.
Yeah, Tyler Hammer is having a very good day today, especially compared to last week, whereas Morgan is pretty much struggling to remain more or less where they began. But of course, what I'm looking at here is we already know that Vest pitted way early and has had problems. Yes, he's got 8th position at the moment. Is there any hope he can actually keep it?
Ralph Vest had 3.75, sorry, as Charlie Morgan runs a bit deep through turn 4. That's not how they're going to be regaining P9. But data updates, Ralph Vest is on the verge of having 3%. Tyler Hammer and Charlie Morgan should both be able to run flat out to the end of the race. Ralph Vest is going to have to continue saving energy, and that could cost them. They look set to finish in the top 10 if they can save the fuel. But
that does not look like fuel-saving driving to me.
No, it doesn't look too much indeed. Let's just bring up the inputs for Ralph Vest just to see if they are fuel-saving at all as they come towards T1. Does that throttle lift? There's a bit of lifting. Oh, it's not a lot of lifting, Coast, because it's a compromise.
That's barely any fuel saving at all. At this point, he ought to be desperately fuel saving. He is at least 2 laps away from the end of the race. if everything goes perfectly for him. And there's no fuel saving at all going into this corner. No, he's running flat out, or at least as far flat out as he dares to do.
For context, at the end of the last lap, he had 9.4%. To do 2 laps, he would need to use 4.7%. At the moment, his 3-lap average is 4.9, but last lap was 5.1% used, trying to hold on and defend from this position. And it might be an extra lap fuel saving, you can see there a little bit, but not fuel saving too much because of the cars behind. Does not want to give up track position, but ultimately might not have a choice. We'll come round to start, which I believe might be the penultimate lap here. Let me try and find out. Gap to the front. Oh dear.
He has not got 2 laps left in that car.
It is bad news for Ben Brown. He has picked up a penalty, can only assume it's for track limits, but fighting hard to try and lead the race. Ben Brown may not even finish on the podium, but meanwhile a little further back, Ralphest trying to defend here for P8. He's trying to get Tyler Hammer and Charlie Morgan to find amongst each other to help Ralphest, but it might not be enough. It looks like Ralphest is going to have to pit at the end of this lap. Ben Brown is pitting to serve his penalty. James Cowley starts another final lap, and so I have to assume end of this lap we'll see Ralphest come into the pits, but that doesn't start Tyler Hammer and Charlie Morgan from fighting for P8 themselves.
Yeah, Vest is looking very slow, and only the physical mass of his car is preventing the other two from passing. There it is. And their Vest is going in for his splash and dash. That is what a failed strategy looks like.
Not quite saving enough fuel. Sees Ralphest pit with just 1 lap to go. So let's get back to the fight. Charlie Morgan is up to P8 in front of Tyler Hammer for P9. Bertolfsson takes final top 10 position. And we also have Ben Brown fighting to try and get past Martin Thorpe, but Ben Brown runs wide there through turn 5. Nearly contact between Daniel Lindblom and I think that was Jimmy Mungate. No, that's Lauren Martin just in front. Stefan Reinhardt is also entering pit lane, as well as Alex Parkin for a splash and dash for this final lap. Meanwhile, from the field, James Cowley has come through to take the win. Will hold on just in front of Christian Kiesig. Chris Downing will take P3. The fight for P8. It's not a fight for P9. Look at how close Bertolfsson has closed up. Was 2 seconds faster. Last lap was Bertolfsson, and runs into the back of Tyler Hammer at the final corner, causing them to go for a spin. They might not even take a top 10 position. There is Tom Watson going through, who's going to pick up that final top 10 place with a mistake. Runner Bertolfsson running into the back of Tyler Hammer on the final corner will drop to P11.
That's very sad considering how much progress Bertolfsson had made through the pack this entire race, to lose a position on the final corner of the final lap.
And Ralphest will be the last of the cars to finish on the lead lap. His pit stop on that final lap, by the way, was 23 seconds. I think he's actually cost himself a place to Alex Parkin by having a long pit stop. Maybe not getting that pit strategy set up in time, costing themselves another position. They will finish on the lead lap, but it will only be 14th position, as they were fighting for P8 on the final, approaching the final lap. But the strategy went wrong, and it was not meant to be for them.
Yes, of course, you mentioned something that's a personal bugbear for me about this particular game, the fact that you can't preset pit stops. You have to do it on the fly while you're driving, and that is very difficult to get right.
Yeah, that is all of our drivers across the line now. Let's go through the race results, as it was very hectic at the end there. On the alternate strategy, taking 2 sets of tires at the pit stops, James Cowley, despite losing track position, with the cold tires and a spin at the final corner, comes back through to win the race. Christian Kiesig will have to sell for second place, and Chris Downing will take P3 on the final podium place. Having qualified 13th place, Anton Temenga will take P4. I'm sure they'll be very happy with that race result after a poor qualifying. Patrick Den will take a top 5 place. Good race from them. And Martin Thorpe taking P6. A drive-through penalty for track limits in the final few laps will demote Ben Brown from a potential podium all the way down to P7. Charlie Morgan would fend off Tyler Hammer to take P9. Tyler Hammer settling for P9, and Tom Watson taking the final top 10 position. Runner Bitolfson will miss out on a top 10, having run into the back of Tyler at the final corner, final lap. And Adusa Karpner, having changed all 4 tires, I believe, will take P12, still up 3 places from where they qualified. Alex Parkin will take a respectable P13, but I'm sure a little bit disappointed having qualified in 11th place. With Ralph Est not quite feel saving enough throughout the race, we'd be 1 lap short when they having to come in for a splash and dash, and that would drop them to 14th place. Stefan Reinhardt will round out our top 15 with Johnny Ashley. A mistake at turn 5 in the early part of the race would mean that 16th is all they could muster. Simon Harris will take 17th. Daniel Lindblom spin at final corner in the opening stint of the race. We'd see them down in 18th place. Jimmy Mungate would take 19th, despite fighting in the top 10 earlier on. We didn't quite see what happened to them and what dropped them down the order. Zach Silver with a drive-through I think it was stop go perhaps from pit lane, we'd see in 20th place. And of course, remember, Alex Parkin 13th had that drive-through from the start. So 13th, not too bad for Parkin, considering that drive-through from the start. Lauren Martin just missed out in top 20 in 21st with Dave Selecki in 22nd. Fiona Grasner take 23rd ahead of Guy Geyser, who was had 5 pit stops here on my timing screen throughout the race. So I've seen a couple of penalties through them, so they really struggled this race, finishing 4 laps down. And Matt Townsend, the exact same spin as Johnny Ashley, took them out of the fight in the top 5. And then another wobble, loss of the rear end through turn 3, heavy contact with the wall, losing a tyre and having to complete 3/4 of a lap with 3 tyres, meant a long repair time. And our last finisher for Matt Townsend, Daniel Chavez, not starting the race. Well, that was a very hectic race, and Bahrain Rider certainly delivered. What did you make of it, Chris?
Last week was a very chaotic race, mostly due to the drivers fighting the track. This time, the chaos and drama came from the drivers fighting each other, dealing with the strategy of fuel saving, tire changes, and above all, slipstream and late braking. And those who were the most effective were the ones who came out on top, especially Cowley, whose strategy was almost dead on perfect and was able to come back from a half spin, make up 6 seconds, and end up winning by 6 seconds.
Yeah, it was an incredible race from Kai, especially taking the risk. They had the pace. They didn't need to sort of risk losing track position for the tires. They could have stayed on the same tires and led away at the front, but they 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 took it the interesting way, and they showed what pace they had. Next week, we will be heading to Sebring School, another short circuit, but now a bit bumpier than Bahrain. It'll be interesting to see how our drivers fare for next week. Unfortunately, you won't be joining us, Chris. Tom Tosland will be back in the booth. But I mean, from the opening 2 rounds, Chris, you enjoyed the series so far?
Yes, it's been very thrilling all the way through. There's been great combat between the various drivers. This has been a very thrilling race, and I'm still wondering if somebody can knock our dominant leader off the peg. I will say this much, though. You say Sebring School is just a little bit bumpier than Bahrain. That is underselling it massively. of all the tracks on this list, Sebring is the bumpiest. And I would very much look to see how stable these drivers can keep these cars on that track.
Yeah, and when we head to Coda National for round 5, that is also another fairly bumpy track. Let me tell you, I was surprised how bumpy that track is when I first drove it on LMU. Of course, in real life, the track getting bumpier year on year. That is certainly reflected within the Mon Ultimate. I mean, out of the 4 tracks coming up, Chris, I know you won't be here in the comms booth for them, but if there's one track you'd be most excited for, which would it be?
Oh, definitely the final, Spa-Francorchamps. That is practically the track these cars were built for. And of course, it being the final with so many tightly competitive drivers in this field makes it absolutely the one not to miss if you have the choice. Unfortunately, I'll be working that weekend.
Oh, that's a shame to hear, but thank you very much, Chris, for filling in for our first 2 weeks of the Weekender series. It has been great to have you. Um, Certainly, you didn't seem like you were just filling in. You seemed like you could have been a permanent addition. Um, so yeah, it has been a great pleasure to have your company for the last 2 weeks.
Thanks for the compliments. It was great fun, and I'm glad to have been a part of it.
Yeah. So, I say next week it'll be me and Tom back at Sebring School. But before then, over the next few days, we have some other great racing coming up with the multi-class series continuing tomorrow. It is the third round at a wet Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. That'll be with GTE cars and hypercars sharing the tracks. It'll be quite interesting to see how they fare around Spa. Then on Tuesday, we have our IndyCar Championship is heading to Nürburgring, the GP out hosting the third round before we head to an oval the week after. I've seen quite a bit of carnage, but some good racing in the first 2 weeks at Belle Isle and Autopolis for the first round. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday, see the third round of that at Nürburgring. Then on Wednesday, we have the Sim Hound Academy also taking part at Spa. It's hypercars and GT3s for our rookie, less experienced drivers who are getting to grips, still trying to find some pace on LMU or consistency. See how they fare with a 15-minute race around Spa. Then before on Thursday, we have the third round of our Super Formula Lights. They've had some great racing so far last week, or at the week just past at Fuji. This upcoming week, they will be heading to the ever high-speed Mugello circuit. Hopefully making for some great racing. Those sub 600 kilo cars with a lot of downforce should be a lot of fun throw around there and should hopefully make for some great racing. And that is all before we return next Sunday for the Weekender series. So, well, some great racing action this evening. A lot of fun, some intense racing for sure, and strategy at play. Make sure you tune us next week when we return for the third round of the Weekender series and before for the rest of our Season 5 series. Before we go, any final words, Chris?
Not a bit, except to say that most of the drivers that we saw today did an excellent job, and I hope they keep it up through the rest of the series.
Me too indeed. Well, thank you very much again, Chris, for joining us. Thank you all very much too for watching. And again, thank you, Ben Brown, for your subscription earlier on. Hope to see you throughout the week for our other series. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Enjoy. Have a good start to next week tomorrow, and we will see you next time. Good night.